have Mary Shekett here. Mary.
Hello.
Nicole Quain with the IMP.
And Russell White, the AmeriCorps Vista with the IMP. And of course, we have our two guests today for the presentation. Oh, I just skipped right through them.
Thanks, Russell.
Yeah, it's always, there we
Greatly
go.
appreciate
So
it.
you guys just want to introduce yourselves to everyone on the call?
Yeah, my name's Virginia Atwell. I'm one of the AmeriCorps Vistas over at the nonprofit Please Pass the Love.
And my name is Bella Maisie. I know my last name can get confusing, but I'm the other AmeriCorps Vista at the nonprofit Please Pass the Love.
We'll talk a little bit about Please Pass the Love later on, so you can get to know our organization a little bit. So.
All right, and before we begin the presentation, we'll let everyone else on the call also give a brief introduction. So we'll just go from the top down. I'm probably going to say this name incorrectly. Shemaine?
Yes. You did well.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Shemaine Sims. I work at New Opportunities in Carroll in the Fun Friends Mentoring Program. I'm new to this. I just started back in October, and prior to this, I didn't have any knowledge or anything of doing something like this, but it's very intriguing, and I enjoy it thoroughly. So I'm excited for everything that is possible with this, and I'm excited to always learn new things. So.
Excellent. Well, we're very excited to have you with us.
No, thank you.
All right, and the next, Devona.
Yeah, Devona Case. I'm the mentoring coordinator for Mentoring with Heart, the Glenwood Community School mentoring program. And I've been doing this this is my second year. So happy to be here.
And we're happy to have you as well, Devona. All right, and then Ellen.
Hi, this is Ellen Krugman with Helping Services for Youth and Families. I have been with Helping Services now for 8.5 years, and I cover Delaware County, school-based and community-based, and I'm just looking to learn more today.
Awesome, well, we're glad to have you. And then Jamie.
Hi, I'm Jamie Miller West. I'm the mentoring coordinator for New Opportunities out of the Shemaine, the SAC office. I've been doing this for a little over a year now, and I'm also very happy to be here.
Excellent. And then next, Jay.
Jay Wright in Sioux City, Iowa with Teammates Mentoring. Excited to hear what's on the call today. This is a pretty big topic, and I think a lot of stuff that we need to know and be more aware of. So I'm excited to learn today.
Excellent. And then Kim, do you have a microphone? No, yeah. So Kim sent her introduction in the chat. She's with Big Brothers and Big Sisters of Siouxland in Sioux City, Iowa. So we're glad to have everybody on the call. And so without wasting any more time, we'll continue on with the presentation. So Virginia and Bella.
Yeah, we'll take it away. So today we are, Jay, you were right. It's a really big topic. So
no pressure.
Yeah, no pressure. It's fine. So we're going to talk a little bit about mental health, recognizing some signs of mental illness, both in maybe mentees and yourselves. So it's kind of some general information. And then we're going to talk a little bit about self-care and what you can do to take care of yourself.
So really quick guidelines for today. Respect each other. We can all have different experiences with this. And mental health is such a big topic, and it can also be really uncomfortable for some people to talk about. So just have an open mind and practice active listening. Take care of yourself. Feel free to excuse yourself from the call or just do what you got to do to take care of you. And then share the talk time, but feel free to interrupt us at any time if you have any questions.
This is a statement we give every time we do a presentation on mental health. We happen to talk to young people a lot, so we think this is especially important for them, but it is something we like to tell everyone. Stuff like this isn't always easy to talk about. Like Bella said, it can be really uncomfortable, and we all have a lot of different experiences. So if at any point you need to excuse yourself from the call, you need to mute something, or you need to like doodle on a Post-it note or something, you know, if you need to take a break, totally go for it. Just letting you know that, you know, there might be some triggering heavy information that we're giving you.
Okay, so some quick facts about mental illness. About 1 in 5 adults experience mental illness in a year, and suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in the US, but the 2nd leading cause of death for those ages 15 to 24. 10.2 million people have co-occurring mental illnesses and addiction, and nearly 60% of adults with a mental illness did not receive treatment. On the flip side of that, when we're thinking about kids, some of those statistics are pretty similar. 1 in 5 children will experience a mental illness in a year, but less or more than 80% of those children will not receive any treatment. Suicide is the 2nd leading cause of death for those ages 15 to 24, and LGBTQ youth are 4 times more likely to attempt suicide, and they're 8 times more likely to attempt suicide when they come from an unsupportive family or they lack a support system altogether. And so looking at these statistics, oopsie.
Oh, no, you're fine.
General.
Perfect timing, Russell.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do, we're going to talk about some mental illnesses that I think we're all pretty familiar with. We're going to clip through these kind of faster so we get to more of the discussion part of the program. But we do want to make you aware of some of the signs and symptoms of these mental illnesses, because if you do notice them in young people and not so young people, you're aware of those signs and you can tell somebody in order to help someone get help if they need it. So depression, you know, we think about the kind of the common ones, those feelings of despair that go on for a long time, a loss of interest. 2 really big things that I think we forget about are frequent physical complaints. So whether that's chronic pain, headaches, that can all, you know, like mental illness isn't just, you know, all in your head, so to speak. It really does affect your whole body. Something I talk about nonstop, and I think people are really tired of me talking about it, is sleep issues. You may notice that if you're sleeping too much, you're sleeping too little, that's a huge sign that something with your mental health might be off.
So when you look at a depressed brain compared to a not depressed brain, you can see some obvious differences. And what you are looking at when you see the brighter colors on the right, those are regions of higher brain activity. So we know that depression affects your personality, it affects your emotions, your motivation. And so on the right, you see the top part of the brain. There's those brighter colors, as well as you see the sides of the brain, those lighter colors there. So the top part has to do with your personality, what you like to do, who you are, all that fun stuff. Whereas your emotions are more on the side of the brain in what's called your temporal region. So if you look at the depressed brain, you can see that that's not going on. And that's because stress hormone, cortisol, is actually shrinking those connections in the brain. And so you're not making those connections. You're not going to have as much motivation. You're not going to be you. And so it's important to recognize that you can't see this going on in your mentees' brains. They can present just as they are every day, but there's something deeper going on.
Another really common one is anxiety. I think we're all familiar with this feeling, especially when something big in your life is going on. I know Bella and I are recently out of college, and so like, you know, those 2 days before a big exam, we're losing our minds. But so anxiety as a mental illness is really something that's more long-term. So that excessive worry, panic attacks, which can happen in a multitude of ways. Again, I told you I'd keep talking about sleep, those sleep troubles and physical complaints as well. But depression and anxiety are 2 incredibly common illnesses that especially really start presenting at a young age in children.
So when we look at this slide, this is just more pictures of brains, like neurotypical brains compared to those suffering from mental illness. And so we really just like to hit home that mental illness changes your brain chemistry. And so it's really more than just telling people to get over it. Your brain will do what it needs to make sure that it's taking care of you. And if that means it's sacrificing other parts of your brain, then it's going to do that. And so we really need to recognize that we don't know what's always going on in someone's head. And it's just good to be cognizant of that.
Mm-hmm. All right. So kind of the reason we talked to you about those brain scans, one, because it's cool to hear Bella talk about it. And two, we really want to drive home the fact that mental illness is a medical condition.
Hey, Virginia, I see that you're having a really hard time breathing from that asthma. Have you ever considered just, breathing?
Wow, Bella, I never considered just breathing instead of having asthma. So we actually, it's probably funnier to watch us do it in person. I realize that right now. But that's like a little skit we do when we do this for anyone, really, because we think it's funny. But it really drives home that mental illness is a medical condition. You hopefully wouldn't approach someone with asthma and say, wow, could you just breathe? Just like you shouldn't approach someone with a mental illness and say, have you ever just tried being happy? No one's making the decision to wake up and be miserable. No one's choosing to be sick. So it's, of course, way more complicated than just this, but it is something we really like to raise awareness about, that this is a medical condition and it can be treated. So this, I actually wish I would have changed this slide, because I just want to say some of it, we usually have young people statistics on here, but I think these will probably be really interesting statistics.
Yeah, so the top cause of stress is job-related pressure, followed by money and health. 77% of people experience these physical symptoms of stress, while 73% experience psychological symptoms. So as adults, we all get really, really busy, and we can feel like our responsibilities never end. But if we can just take it back to when we were in high school or when we were in middle school, thinking about all of those extracurriculars, the 7 different classes we were juggling each day, it can get a lot. And then on top of that, to have this really cool mentor reach out to us and think so highly of us, it can be a lot to try to make sure that we're pleasing them and just doing those responsibilities. So it's just important to remember that young people are under a lot of stress too, even if it's different than ours.
Yeah. We're going to talk a little bit about how stress affects the body. So just a little bit of, I guess, observation that we've had throughout spending a lot of time talking to young people about mental illness. We always ask them, and it doesn't matter what age we're talking to really, we always ask them, hey, how many of you have felt stressed in the last 2 weeks? And all of their hands shoot in the air 2 times. And then we ask them, how many of you have been stressed in the last 2 days? And again, all of their hands go up. So young people are definitely feeling the effects of stress, and they do report feeling a lot of these symptoms, which is really concerning. I think especially, sometimes as adults, we tend to think back and think about kids being, so carefree. I wish I was in high school again. No thanks, first of all. But kids really are feeling the stress, especially today with social media. And there's just a lot more going on. There's a lot higher expectations for young people now. So you can see the effects of stress. Again, I think this is something that we're probably all personally familiar with. So it's just something to remind yourself that, again, what's going on in our brain really does affect our entire body. And so it brings me to this comic, which I think is funny and no one else does. So we look at these statistics, we look at these signs and symptoms that we're seeing not only as adults, but in really young children. And I think this was kind of a joke floating around the internet a while back where people would really relate to this image. Where everything is kind of burning around you, but you got your cup of coffee and you're like, this this is fine, you say, as you're like behind on every deadline and the world is just falling apart. What a lot of people don't know is there is a second part to this comic. If you want to change slides there, Russell.
It's not.
This is not. It's fine. So I kind of say this as a joke, but really we want to make people aware, you know, it's not fine that suicide is the second leading cause of death for young people in our state and across the nation. It's not fine that every time we talk to young people about stress, every single one of them is like, oh yeah, I have felt every single symptom of being overstressed almost every day that I'm at school. And then, you know, we see as adults, again, we see each other getting stressed. And as much as it's maybe more comfortable to let the world burn around us and say this is fine, it's not fine. And we want to give y'all some tools and tips to make things a little more tolerable, we'll say.
So a big part of these tools and tips is breaking down that stigma. And by breaking down that stigma, we can really start the conversation. And that's where a lot of things work, or where a lot of these tools like start to work and start to really help. And it doesn't have to just be through face-to-face communication. It can even, however you can get these kids to talk to you, that's your goal. My sister one day wrote a note to her friend about what she was going to do when she got home from school that day. And her friend reported it to the teacher, and my sister was able to get the help that she needed. But if he hadn't done that, I might not have my sister. So I'm very grateful that she felt a safe way to communicate. And so if, as mentors, you can build that relationship to break down that stigma and start that communication, you will go so far.
So we want to talk to you guys about helping young people. And this is a slide we're going to spend some time, not only obviously talking about helping young people, as the title of the slide says, but we'll talk a little bit about our organization and also take some questions here, because I know this is really important to everyone. So Please Pass the Love is a school mental health nonprofit. So we go into schools, we educate teachers, we educate staff, we will educate a fleet of bus drivers if they let us. We just want people to get the same information. Bella and I also work pretty closely with young people, forming groups in the schools, and those young people are like super cool mental health ambassadors. They're very awesome. But our primary goal is helping people. So definitely make yourself familiar with resources that you have in your community. I know that Iowa isn't always known for its mental health resources, but there are resources there. And if you can get creative with resources, all the power to you. Stay educated on mental health, on self-care, and on the resources that you have. Staying educated is really a way to break down that stigma. So this is a really important one. Don't play doctor. It can be really hard sometimes when you start learning about mental illness and you see these symptoms in young people that you might be working with, or coworkers, or heaven forbid, family members. It's very important that you don't run around diagnosing people. But when you do recognize these signs, it's good to know, because you can talk to somebody who can get that person help. You can talk to a professional. But it's definitely not our job to say, hey, you have this, go take some Prozac. It's more important that we get them to a professional where they can begin that really complex process of healing. Building relationships. Bella touched on this with her story about her sister, but having a good relationship, like a good appropriate relationship with like healthy boundaries, but also a sense of trust, is so important. Relationships are key to everything that we do. And I think if I might make a bold statement, relationships are kind of key to what everyone does in the workplace, to have an effective workplace anywhere. And so really focus on relationship building. And then of course, lead by example. If you are not taking care of yourself, especially young people, will know it. They are not blind. You're not fooling them with your 2-day-old makeup and like 8th cup of coffee. So definitely take care of yourself because that example really makes a difference. So since this is like a big part of this presentation, and I know this is something really important to people, are there any questions, like just like burning questions? You're like, hey, help me with this specific thing. We can. So if not, we'll move on, but you can totally ask questions. Or in the chat. Or at any point, you can totally just scream at us.
Yeah, you can just interrupt us.
Yeah.
And all that jazz.
You can do that. I mean, don't scream, but you get what we're saying. And we, if you don't have any right now, we'll take some at the end.
Yeah, I didn't know if anyone had to have specific situations that have come up and not known how to deal with it. I think the key is, like Virginia said too, it's not telling your mentors that they're playing doctor, and you're certainly not diagnosing either. It's just creating that safe space for them to maybe perhaps talk about issues, or else it's observational. And I think that's what the mentors, like giving them permission to just talk to you when they notice differences. And that's what you're just like talking about, what they observe. And I've seen these changes, and that's a way to have a conversation with, if you're going to a parent or if you're going to the teacher, and see if they, can confirm some of this. You just say, this is what we're noticing. Like, again, as Regina said, you're not going and saying, yes, I really think my mentee is depressed. Have you noticed that? Or Mom, you should be concerned. So-and-so seems depressed. No, it's just like, we've been noticing these, and it is of concern.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. If you have the opportunity to talk to people in their support system, especially since there is that stigma, you're going to get a lot more of a positive response if you kind of note the signs that you're seeing rather than sticking a label on it. That is a really important way to kind of make a difference in that support system. Again, feel free to interrupt us if you have questions. Hop on that chat. But we will move on for now, and we'll have plenty of time for questions afterwards as well.
So there are all sorts of ways to cope for all of us. And so obviously some negative coping mechanisms would be alcohol and drug use, under and overeating, and self-harm. Disclaimer, if at any point you recognize self-harm, you have to tell somebody immediately. But some positive coping mechanisms. Please Pass the Love really likes to focus on arts-based expression, because a lot of times if you ask somebody to define art, it's how I explain who I am, what I do, why I do it, and all that fun stuff. And so we really like to just give young people no stipulations and no limitations, and just ask them to express themselves, whatever they're feeling, whether it be through art of any medium, journaling, support groups, even exercise like yoga can be really calming and great for meditating. We also really enjoy spoken word and slam poetry. If you've never heard of any, then please YouTube some, because you will not be disappointed.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Thanks, Jay.
Yeah, see you, Jay. I said your name wrong. I'm a horrible person. So much.
Does Kim want to say something?
All right, are we? Okay, perfect. All right, so we'll head off. Okay.
Excuse me, Kim.
Sure.
Kim, you're unmuted now. Did you want to ask a question or make a comment?
I think it was.
I think you're good. Yeah.
Her and thing.
Okay.
Thanks, Kim.
Thanks, Kim. So yes, we even have to cope in the workplace. So I think we're all kind of bad at this one, right? Work can be really exhausting for everyone. So I think it's really important to remember to take care of yourself in a professional capacity as well. So first and foremost, always be honest with yourself, your boss, and your coworkers. Of course, keep appropriate boundaries. Like your boss probably doesn't need to know like every juicy detail. But definitely be honest when you can.
A good example of that, I think, is that Virginia and I work like literally 3 feet next to each other all day. And so we can both kind of recognize when something's wrong with each other. And so on the way over to this peer share call, I just kind of vented about everything that was bothering me. And we kind of just helped each other get through it. So
yeah, so like Bella and I have kind of a closer relationship where maybe we wouldn't like spend our time ranting to our boss. We have that with ourselves. And I think another really good example was earlier, not earlier this year because it's 2019 now, but earlier in 2018, I was actually hospitalized for my mental illness, and I ended up in a really great position because I was able to be honest with both my boss and Bella about my situation, and that made kind of recovery and the treatment process a lot more comfortable for me and a lot more effective because I knew that I had a supportive work environment. So some other ones, definitely I know some of us are like chaotic organizers. That's me. But organize is the best you can in a way that makes sense to you. On top of that, personalize your space. Sometimes it might feel a little dorky to like bring in a bunch of decorations or whatever, but I find that makes work a lot more appealing to be at when it is kind of your own personalized space. Of course, don't take work home with you. I used to work in social work, and it's really hard to do. But if you can set up some sort of boundary with yourself to say, hey, you know, at this certain time, I need to go home and focus on myself in my life, that can go a long way. And of course, take days off. I think we live in a culture that tells us exhaustion is a good thing, that we are at our best when we're exhausted, and that when we're so productive that we like fall asleep at 5 o'clock when we get home, that it's a good thing. It's not. So that exhaustion that you feel, it's not a badge of honor. Take those days off and take care of yourself, because that's what's going to make you a better worker and a better person. Oh, I was behind in mine. Sorry. I'm gonna keep talking. My bad. So we didn't put this in the right order. These are kind of like 4 huge bullet point, literally huge bullet points that we want to kind of talk about a little bit. My favorite is choose discomfort over resentment. That one might need a little bit of explanation. So think about a situation where somebody asked you to do something for them and you said yes, and then later you're like, oh my gosh, I'd rather do literally anything else. And then you're resentful about that, maybe for a long time, when you could have just felt uncomfortable in that moment and said no. That's kind of, I think, sometimes a hard pill to swallow. But if you can choose to be uncomfortable in one moment rather than being resentful for, a month, definitely take the discomfort. You will thank yourself later, weirdly enough. Do you have anything else on this one?
You are loved. Your brain is just mean. Just remember that brain chemistry.
Yeah, that's a good one. Sometimes your brain chemistry is working against you sometimes, and just really reminding yourself that you are loved, you are worthy, you have value as a person. Sometimes just things aren't firing on all cylinders, and that's totally okay.
So just some more self-care examples. I actually have a gratitude journal too. It's just at the end of the day where you just write down the day and you write down 3 good things that happened today. It can even be the worst of days, but it's nice to be able to look back and be like, wow, look at all these great things I have going for me. And sometimes they're the same, but I mean, longevity is still a good thing. Learn to accept, tolerate, and improve distress and discomfort. a big thing for myself even is just learning to accept the things that I can't change. And so when I'm still in the process to do so, but little by little, I'm learning it, and I'm learning just to live with it and accommodate that way. Stop using the word should and just do. You deserve some you time. Everybody does. And you can't take care of your mentees if you're not taking care of yourself. And so that ties into the eat well, sleep well, and stop measuring your success by exhaustion piece. Be mindful of your habits. And by that, we mean really mindful. So don't just recognize, oh, wow, I'm really tired. I worked really hard today. Say, oh, wow, I haven't given myself a break in 9 working days, and I've literally been pushing myself to my limit. I should probably give myself a break. Be mindful of your habits and give yourself the chance to change them. Let go of perfectionism. Nobody's perfect. And talk yourself up. You deserve all the credit, and nobody is a better you than you.
Mm-hmm. This is something I think that I learned, like I said, I was hospitalized, and those last 3 bullet points were something that I don't think I fully grasped until I was in really intensive treatment. Perfectionism, I hate to break it to y'all, you're never going to do something perfectly. So perfectionism really is just a giant shield that we drag around with us in the world. And if you can let go of that and tell yourself, hey, what I did today was good enough. I can improve tomorrow and the day after that, and then maybe I'll slip a day. But letting go of that perfectionism and letting yourself be vulnerable is going to do way more for you in your life than being perfect is. Give yourself credit. There was a period of a couple months where I was like, oh yeah, I brushed my teeth today. Perfect. That really matters. And questioning your negative self-talk. Mistaking all of your thoughts for things that you have to feel is like mistaking the entire menu for like what you're going to eat that night. So if there's something that you're like, hey, I noticed myself saying really horrible things about myself, take the time to be like, hey, self, that's not true. And talk back to yourself if you have to. But just remember, I know these aren't like fun things like doing a face mask or taking a bath, but these are great things to kind of implement into your life little by little.
Mr. Rogers.
This is just cute. So this is also something that I think I'm going to start putting in every single presentation.
Yeah. I think it's a nice touch.
Yeah. But just remembering that life doesn't have to be a competition. Sometimes I think we really do view it that way. But your value as a person comes from from existing, the fact that you are a person. And I think instilling these sort of ideas into mentees, into any young person that we're a part of their lives, really instilling this attitude in a generation below us. It makes you wonder, 8 years from now, where they're going to be at on their journey of taking care of themselves. So getting them that kickstart into loving themselves. It's important. Yeah, sure. It's important to have job skills. It's important to, get ready for school if that's what you're going to do. Get ready for your career. But learning to take care of yourself and accept yourself is just as important as all of that. And I think it's really time that we give young people that opportunity as well. Resources.
Yay, resources. So these are some resources that each of you can use. The iowacrisischat.org. They added, before they used to just be a phone number, but young people don't enjoy talking on the phone. I don't really enjoy talking on the phone, but I'm not considered a young person. And so the crisis chat, I know we're old now. The crisis chat is great because they can literally text the number and receive help that way. The National Suicide Prevention Hotline and the Trevor Project is great for LGBTQ. Those letters are out of order.
I'm sorry.
Are great for that student population. A Friend Asks is a really great app. It also has all these resources, all of the resources you see above, but it also has some warning signs that you can look for, conversation starters, and just more information. And when we go to presentations, we have students take out their phones and put this information in there. And so if you guys want to take out your phones, you're more than allowed to do that too. I think it would be great for you to have. You can also visit our website at pleasepassTheLove.org and find really great posters with this information that you can have to show your mentees.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's all we have as far as like us talking at you content goes. So we would love to take any questions, any comments. They don't have to be questions. Or if there's something that you're really wanting to like know about, we definitely left ample time to kind of have that conversation with y'all.
Y'all.
Y'all is gender neutral, leave me alone. Also, if you're more comfortable, you're more than welcome to use the chat function too.
Yes. By the way, thank you guys for listening.
Yeah,
Appreciate it. So Mary Shika kind of told us before the presentation too that our executive director, Jen, presented at your conference thing this fall. So if you recognize any of this information, that's our Jen. So that's ours. Anybody? Well, thank you guys.
Yeah, if there's no questions for Virginia and Bella, if anything ever comes to mind afterwards, you can always just reach out to them. Their email is info@pleasepassTheLove.org. They're very, very receptive. They respond very quickly. So feel free to reach out to them if you feel more comfortable just having a more private setting and asking those questions. Before we end the call, we want to remind everybody that coming up is the due date for nominations for the Excellence in Mentoring Awards. All the information you need is provided right here. Just go to our website and we have this web banner within the homepage. It's the third one. All you have to do is click on the web banner and it'll take you directly to a link with the nomination file. And then all you have to do is download the PDF and all the instructions that you need will be inside that document. We just want to make sure we get some of these nominations because so far we don't have any. We want to make sure that we are recognizing our outstanding mentors because they really do deserve it. So please, if you have anyone in mind, it does not hurt to nominate them. So just keep that in mind. And our next peer share call will be in February on the 14th. Once we have information on what that topic will be, we'll put it on our newsletter and also make an announcement on our Facebook page.
And also our day at the Capitol is the 19th of February. And just want to wish everyone happy National Mentoring Month too. I know everybody has lots going on this month.
Yeah, so thank you everybody for joining us today. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
you.